Hello, everyone. My name is Derek. And about 2 years ago, I was feeling a little bit stuck in my career. And one of the things that I wanted to do was to take the opportunity to apply to a school that offered a curriculum that was different from the one that I was teaching at that time, which was Common Core. So when I was looking at different schools to apply to, I was considering going to a school that offered IGCSE or offered the IB. I ended up getting a position at a school that offered the IB, and in order to prepare for that, I was looking on YouTube and across the internets, trying to find some resource that could explain, for a teacher's perspective, what exactly is IB. I knew that it was teaching, but what exactly makes it different? So I decided to make this video, and in this video, I'm going to talk about some of the different aspects of the IB, specifically MYP or the Middle Years Program. And I hope this information is helpful for anyone who's considering going into an MYP school. So in this video, I'll be looking at how to refer to the IB, whether it's a framework or a curriculum. I'll also show you how the different MYP years match up with a more traditional year structure. I'll also be mentioning about the parts that go into making summative assessments, as well as what assessments look like in the IB and some other little special parts. One thing that stands out about the IB is that it isn't a curriculum. Instead, it is a framework. By framework, the IB can be taught in conjunction with whatever curriculum the school is currently offering, such as Common Core or Cambridge. That's because the IB doesn't dictate what content needs to be taught, only the skills that students need to produce in order to be proficient in a particular area. And the IB is divided across four groupings: the primary years program, the middle years program, the diploma program, and the career program. And the framework is meant to progress along with students as they go from one program to another. After 5 years in the primary years program, or the PYP, students go to the MYP, the middle years program, with the corresponding years, grades 6 through 10. After that, students will transition to the diploma program, which is grades 11 through 12. The IB is also principally concerned with the assessment model, and for each subject group, the students are assessed according to four criterion, which teachers refer to as A, B, C, and D. And what these criterion represent differs according to whatever subject the student is in. But within these criterion, there's also several points, strands that are called, that will guide teachers in what sort of summative assessments they provide for students. In my school, I was hired to be a subject teacher across three subjects: language acquisition, language and literature, and individuals and societies. So there were lots of criterion for me to remember, 12 to remember what each of the letters represented. Now that I am solely an individuals and societies teacher this year, A is knowing and understanding, B is investigating, C is communicating, and D is thinking critically. And once again, for each subject, the criterion that are being assessed are different. Within each criteria, there are several strands, and these strands can be used as objectives for assessments or either as objectives for teaching, depending on the subject and the occasion. If they're used as objectives on an assessment, there is a rubric that's provided within the subject guide that will give the teacher an indication of how they should mark that assessment on a scale from 1 to 8. So here's an example of what the strands look like for criterion D, thinking critically in individuals and societies. And the teacher's responsibility is to assess each of these strands at least twice during the academic year. And how the teacher does that, what content they use in order to assess students, is entirely up to the department. The IB doesn't dictate what content is taught, only the skills that need to be assessed. So that goes back to the IB being referred to as a framework instead of as a curriculum. The following parts are just some other things I've noticed about the IB framework and some buzzwords that are mentioned throughout teaching it. One thing is that lessons are not built daily, but there's a heavy emphasis on establishing a unit plan. This unit plan includes things such as the learner profile attributes, ATL skills, opportunities for students to be internationally minded, and differentiation opportunities with the learning activities. The IB also puts forward strongly reflection for teachers and for students, and that is included on unit plans as well, before the unit is taught, during, and after. Also, as mentioned before, the criterion are used to create assessments for students. The criterion and the strand should be reflective of an authentic assessment model. And within this authentic assessment, the assessment should relate back to the statement of inquiry, another buzzword, which is featured on the unit plan, as well as the global context. For IB teachers, they're expected also to participate in professional development that's provided by the IB. These professional development opportunities are put into category 1, 2, and 3. And from my experience taking these professional development courses, they have a stronger emphasis on how to build a unit plan, what does authentic assessment look like, how to differentiate, as well as other skills. An opportunity for students to do some service learning. This opportunity is optional, but it does come in handy because students need to brainstorm ideas for what they're going to do in MYP3 when they have their community service project, and later again in MYP5 when they do their personal projects. Finally, towards the end of MYP, students will do an e-assessment, which, as it sounds, is an assessment on the computer in the majority of subjects. There are some exceptions, such as language acquisition, where students need to complete a portfolio, but by and large, the majority of subjects have e-assessments. And that's all that I can mention if I want to keep this video true to its title, which that it is a short tutorial about some points in the IB framework. And anything that you'd like me to elaborate on, please mention it in the comments, and I'd be happy to make another video about that in the future.